Anyway, hello, my friends. Um, I'm Kristen Erickson and Amy Ceros Domo.
And I'm Amy Domo. You know, it's my work account, so that's why it's a little more formal than I.
And then our technical director is behind the scenes. Yes, there he is.
Hi.
So thank you. Welcome to the first of our new normal or abnormal meetings. As the interim board, I don't know, we don't really have titles, I guess, Amy. We're just plugging along, right? Except, like I said, I'll call VS the technical guru because I like that. And he is that. He does a great job. So our updates to start, for one, are I guess first just to say that this year is different is an understatement, as I'm sure you would know. And I mean that in every way that it could be. And so that means that this school year has been different for Chelmsford. SEPAC is different because of what before COVID. And being virtual makes it very different. Some good, some bad, I would say. But also, I work in a different school district. My children go to school in a different district. Amy Domo also works in another school district. And so one message that we had for everybody about the difficulties in this time is that we in Chelmsford are not alone, because the difficulty that has come up is more related to COVID. And the bottom line is that everybody kind of was waiting for that one person who was going to be the be all end all to decide how things would be done in the schools, and nobody wanted to take it. So each school was left to flounder. And so everyone came up with what they could. And I think in hindsight, I know that the people that I'm working with are saying, I would love to have been able to do this differently, do that differently. But looking at having CDC and DESE and DPH and your Board of Health all involved just made it crazy to figure out. And then add your administration. So I don't know how smooth the transition to the virtual school has been for everybody. And I do know that when Parent Support Group had their meetings earlier in the year, there were tons of questions about how it was going to work. And quite frankly, I don't think really that anybody really knew. They knew what they wanted to have happen, but because it's all new, nobody really knew how it would go or how long anything would take. And that was a challenge, obviously. I think one of the things that Amy and I have, and Viaz have talked about, is that the other piece of that is that we already knew that we were targeting communication as a very important part of SEPAC, or with the school, with the district, that was not up to par, shall we say. And I think that this clearly falls into that as well. So, we're trying our best to work on things as best we can. And it seems to me like it's a common thread that we already have identified. So that being said, and I don't know, Amy, do you have anything you want to add to that short piece of it?
No, I think you did a great job. I just wanted to insert there that this meeting is being recorded, and it will be available for broadcast on, I believe, Vias, you can talk a little bit more about that more eloquently, I'm sure, than I can, but I think it will be broadcast on Chelmsford Telemedia or something of that nature. And the link will be readily available to the public. So just as a reminder, we're certainly able to talk about, people's experiences and generalities, but, that's kind of just be mindful of that. You can share whatever you want, but just
yes, you're right. This will be available through Chelmsford TV and their YouTube channel, and this will be public. So the other thing is, if you want to turn off your videos, you're welcome to do that.
The next piece that I wanted to get into is first to say that, again, there's going to be a lot of the theme of 2020, which is the year that is the year of unexpected changes. Amy Reese and Amy Matson are not going to be here tonight. It was a last minute thing. They warned us that it might happen and they couldn't be here. So if that's the reason you came mostly, then you can sign up because it's not happening. But we do have a little bit of a response from them. And we did give all of the listed concerns that Family Support Group had to them, and they will address that. They're trying to plan a meeting maybe for November 19th. I wanted to look that up on the calendar. I think that's the week before Thanksgiving, not the week of Thanksgiving.
It is. It's exactly a week before. It's the Thursday before Thanksgiving.
And I'm not sure, that might be doable. I haven't even looked at my calendar, but it's not ideal, but it's what we had to do for that. So I'm sorry. And so then the next thing, you know, as far as update from this board, we have been trying to do things, but we are a whole different ball of wax than it had been before. And I guess the first thing that I wanted to bring up about that is that we are considered interim. And the whole plan is to have people come forward if they're interested in taking a position to take over after elections, which we would plan once we find out if there's any interest. Obviously, there's only 2 people here that I'm speaking to still, but I guess I won't make it a real long thing, but for the other people that might watch it as well, Amy and I and Viaz and Allie and Laurie have talked a lot about SEPAC. And I think the main thing that I'd like to point out is that SEPAC, the way that it's defined, if I'm going to be tech savvy enough to do this, let's see, it's basically defined as a Massachusetts, every public school district is required to establish a SEPAC. Mass state law assigns both an advisory and participatory function. Advisory to the school committee and the district staff, and participatory function to SEPAC. That's it. That's what it says. It's a body that serves with an advisor to the school committee and then does things pertaining to education and safety of students with disabilities. In addition, they have a duty to meet regularly with school officials, participate in the planning, development, and evaluation of the district's special ed programs. I think what I want to say about it here is that for years there was no SEPAC until Allie and Laurie came along. And they didn't just take this definition and move with it. They went so far above and beyond, to the point that I feel like any idea that came up, they did. And I think that is awesome. Unfortunately, right now, it's really not, what's the word I want to say? Sustainable with what we have now. We can do the basics, and that's what we plan to do, which means we'll have basic rights, at least one more training, probably through the Federation, and anything else that we choose or find there's an interest for people. I would love to say we would keep doing the Zenden all the time, keep having subcommittees about things, but some of what we have felt is that that's almost given the impression that's made us be more adversarial, if you want to say, with the district. And we don't really want that. We want to be a part of the district and help with decision making, but I think I'm feeling it came off a little bit stronger than that, as you need to change things. And although that is part of our role, I feel like we need to be a little bit more in a collaboration with them to get an established relationship going better. And the biggest thing, like I said, that we've come up with is communication as a big issue. And moving forward from that, parent support group is the place, because SEPAC has become a place where people come for advocacy advice, and we really aren't supposed to be doing that. That's not our role. We are not advocates, but now Family Support Group can do that and take on that piece of it, and then bring those things to us. And they're 2 separate entities with different people running them. Does that make sense? So anyway, so the other piece is that not much more is going to be able to happen without more people. And so, you know, I'm making this plea to the people that are not on this call as well, but that we really need to find people that can take over some of this. And yet when I thought of it taking over for Allie and Laurie, it seems like a daunting task, but it really doesn't have to be nearly that much, because Westford runs with just having a basic rights and maybe a couple of trainings. That's all they pretty much do. And we can do that. We can also do more if we are inclined, but we don't have to, and we can keep it alive and then find people, if there are people that have more ability to do more or to try and implement more as things move on. That's my plug on that. I feel like I'm doing an NPR or a WBUR pledge drive. But if anybody has any time or availability to help out with things, we would be welcome to work on things with that. And I want to go back. Amy, or Viez, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you said it perfectly. I don't have anything more to add.
So my next thing about 2020 is that everything in my life has gotten messed up today. So I don't have my Chromebook because it had coffee spilled on it late this afternoon, just to mess everything up. So I'm trying to play around with my phone to do everything that I needed to do with my Chromebook. So what's the next thing on the agenda? Because I can't seem to get it right now. Yes. Are you there? Viez, do you have the agenda right there?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah.
Okay. What's the next thing on there after our update? I'll find it before you, because I just had it.
Discussion on elections and.
All right, well, that's kind of what we did now, and I feel like, we could talk a little bit about, but I feel like we're not really,
volunteer support from parents, Q&A, which was canceled.
Yeah.
Update on community awards.
Oh,
okay, so that would be Amy Domo.
Okay, I apologize. My dog is scratching to get into the room that I'm in. So if you hear that in the background, that's what that scratching noise is. But so I think it was probably about 2 years ago, we had some discussions about really letting folks know, staff in particular, of the good work that is happening in town, and a way for parents to kind of express that. So basically what we did was we had folks fill out a Google form, essentially, and nominate people that they felt went above and beyond. And we extended it from not just CPS staff, but community people, bus drivers, mailmen, or women, male people, I guess. I'm trying to think who else was on it could be a garbage man, it could be anybody, right? And we sent that out to the community, and we got, I can't recall how many responses, but it was a lot. It was, I don't know, 80 or something like that, maybe, if I had to guess. And it literally ran the gamut from some CPS administrators, principals, a few bus drivers, trying to think who else, and teachers, certainly.
Mailman, I think, wasn't there?
I think there was a mailman, actually. Yeah, so it was just, and it was awesome to kind of read through the explanations of why people felt that those folks went above and beyond. So there were just so many responses, we couldn't even pick one, to say that was like the winner, so to speak. So we presented all of them with certificates kind of gratitude, and Kristen and I and a bunch of other folks went around to each school and handed them out, and had a little something to say to each person, and then there were folks who did that for community members as well. And I think the feedback we received on that was really positive, and people felt appreciated and recognized, and it just felt good, I think, on all ends. So we decided to to run another kind of blast out to the community, if you will, I think sometime in June. But given the timing, I think people were just ready to be kind of done with the school year. I know I was. So we really didn't get many responses at all. And the plan originally was to run it again in the fall, early in the fall, and have gain responses and then maybe do something similar. But I think given, you know, how the environments that we're in, and how things are dealing with, you know, certainly health and safety concerns, and you know, buildings are certainly limited, you know, outside people and things like that. It would just kind of impacted that, right? So we it kind of didn't get forward movement. So I guess we wanted to open up for discussion, you know, what folks kind of felt. I think Kristen and I have kind of spoken offline, certainly, that you know, maybe we entertain something closer to the spring, or kind of loop back with people maybe in the late winter and see kind of what the sentiment is. It's not that we don't think this is important. It's just the time and energy that goes into it. You know, who could be responsible for that, that sort of thing.
And I think, like you said, the feasibility of doing it, we went into all the schools, they wouldn't let us in, you know, and so we just feel like it might be better to do it later.
Yeah, it kind of loses that touch that we had, right, for us to go in and give a spiel about a particular individual based on what the nominating person had said about them. So yeah, I don't know if
I wanted to ask, did we get some nominations?
I don't believe there were any, no. The last time I checked, anyway, over the summer.
Okay.
So does that sound like an okay plan at this point? We're not gonna.
I think it sounds great. I nominated the first time we did this. I didn't actually know you guys were running it again in the spring, so I apologize for that, because I certainly would have put some names forward. I totally understand waiting till the spring to do it again, see where we are in terms of the pandemic and opening that back up. And then maybe to, you know, I think that people, it's still early in the school year and people are getting used to the new routines between school and work. And it may also be, you know, overwhelming in that sense, as well as coordinating it.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, it was very well received. And I know Amy and I had tears as we read and talked to some of the people that we gave awards to, and it was very meaningful. And, you know, yet if we can't go into the buildings, and we thought of having like a little something at a school committee, we can't do anything. So, you know, we would like to not forget it, but table it for a little while. And I think, again, it didn't get promoted like it did the year before, because that's when the COVID started. So kind of had to just like everything else. All right, so that sounds okay.
Yeah. And
thumbs up, waiting on that for a while. That's my new thing with everything. You always zoom thumbs ups. And I could kind of, well, there wasn't too much. Oh, I know, we were talking a little bit about the workshop thing, Amy. The email that I got back when Amy said they were unable to be here tonight said, we did look through the issues that were sent from the family support group, and it did seem that some maybe more building specific issues, but both Amy's, as I say lovingly, Amy squared, we'll spend time reviewing them before the next meeting. She also said she would remind parents that if they have specific questions about their students' IEP regarding implementation, for those issues, they should be reaching out to their child's liaison or the team chair. And then the next piece, I don't know if you want to address, Amy, I can read what she said and just talk about the possible workshop there. I can understand that anxiety will be a prevalent topic this year. Maybe something to think about for a virtual workshop, especially someone who could touch on the differences between the medical diagnosis and an educational disability. Could be someone possibly in-house. We'll think more about this and get back to you. And I will say, we've discussed having an anxiety workshop where some of the BCBAs or other people had, we tried to have that in the works, but it had not happened yet anyway. But it sounds like something that is a good idea for us to put on the list.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I will reach out again to some folks that I know in district, and certainly if anyone has any ideas for someone who they think would be good to speak on that topic, or they'd like to hear it from, we can certainly entertain that and put something together.
Okay. Any comments or questions from our two loyal fans? So then, if I go back to the agenda, which I lost again, I'm telling you.
We have family support group update.
Yes, well, and that would have to be you as far as any more updates besides, I could always read off the list that you guys sent us. Although that's on my SEPAC account, which I can't get on my phone. Do you have any kind of update from that?
Yeah, we had multiple meetings over the summer at the start of the year as well. There were a few parents who brought some issues. We discussed some concerns. We compiled that information, removed the personal information, and sent it to, I believe, Amy. Yeah, that's as far the update that I have. So this is a group which is kind of separate from the SEPAC, wherein we just have random meetings and discuss about concerns, issues, things going well. We compile that information and provide it to the CPAC.
And one of the primary differences in that group is that Amy Domo, I mean, not Amy Domo, or Amy Squared, Amy Reese and Amy Matson are a part of CPAC. They're on the Facebook group. They are at our meetings. And so the family support group is a place where parents can speak openly. It's only shared in that meeting and it's not reported directly to anyone within administration.
Correct. Yes. So these are confidential meetings. We do not record them. We do not take any minutes. We post like these reminders on. We have a separate Facebook group for these meetings, and everyone is welcome to join them. If you have any concerns, good news, things that are working, not working, we remove your personal information before bringing it up to the SIPAC.
And oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to say that that Kristen and I, because we want to make that kind of differentiation between the parent support group and CPAC, that we don't attend those meetings. Not certainly because we don't think they're valuable or anything of that sort, but just to keep that separation, to make sure that when we do hear about the issues that are brought forth, excuse me, we don't know who they're attributed to. So that's a kind of an added layer of kind of confidentiality, if you will.
And yeah, I was going to add, go ahead, Bias.
So Ali and I host those meetings. Yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Well, and you know, at the beginning of right before the school year, I know that you guys had several meetings to discuss concerns and questions, and we did bring that to the school committee at one of their meetings virtually. And I think it was a tough one in that, again, everybody was in the same boat. Nobody really knew how things were going to go in any school in Massachusetts. And I understand the challenge of that, but it was frustrating for parents. And like I said, my biggest vein out of it is it's communication. Even if you just said, we're working on this, we'll have more later. And then we had the meeting, the open forum that they had about everything after the school committee, which was partly from our suggestions. You know what meeting I'm talking about? That Dr. Lang had, the big virtual meetings. And it wasn't, I thought it was going to be addressing special ed needs, and it wasn't. And I thought Amy Reese would be there, and she wasn't. So that's kind of what we were looking for with this, and or with something else in the near future. And I do think a lot of the concerns have at least partially been answered from that, because it was all the what if when school hadn't opened. And now school is open, and so people are seeing how things are going. And it's hard to know the timelines, and and yet that's where we're at now. And that's why we wanted to continue the ball rolling with, okay, now school's rolling out, and what are the plans for the IEPs and the follow-up meetings, and questions about if someone's having all of their direct or indirect services. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions about that for Renee or Heather? Ugh. I'm relying on the Wi-Fi at the library because I'm in my van, and I guess it's not good right now. So Heather or Renee, do you have any particular questions or concerns that have come up for you? So you can be our parent input.
No, we're actually quite pleased in terms of how we've nicely transitioned. And I think that's the theme. I know that you had mentioned, Chris, and then Amy, you work for a public school district. I do as well. And it's an overall theme that things, are better. The direct live instruction has been it's great. I think it's the best we can do in the situation we're at. So as of this point, I'm pretty overall pleased with special education and general education in general.
Good.
I would say it's about the same. So far, so good with elementary. I don't really know so much about what's happening at high school. I don't have a lot of information from my child, but what's been happening for elementary has been pretty good so far. So.
Awesome. What else? Anything else on the agenda? I have to see if I can get it to open up again.
Last one is public input.
Okay. And I wish I could find the list of questions that had come from the family support group, but I can't. I think it's in my SEPAC, which is on my Chromebook, but I don't have it on my phone. But I would say a lot of the questions there were much more individual questions about certain things with a certain child. So I feel like that's not something necessarily for us to address. But again, I would remind everybody that, your best thing is to go up the chain of command, starting with your team chair or your liaison, and then your team chair, and then work your way up. Amy Matson said she was going to remind the team chairs and the liaisons that we are still slightly alive as SEPAC, that we're still existing. And so to send people our way. And I would say I'm a little bit saddened that there's only 2 of you, even though I love you both, but I know you go to a lot of meetings, but we've had a lot of people signing up to be in SEPAC. And I don't know about family support group because I don't control that Facebook page, but I can see a big need because people are just floundering, and it's hard to find who to talk to when you don't see anybody anymore and you don't know who you're supposed to reach out to. And so, and I would say, I feel like our school, the same thing. I think it's gone fairly well. It's strange. I feel like I walk around and you can watch other people either practically bumping into you because they're not concerned at all, and other people walking like looking around to see if they can make sure they don't touch anybody or anything. And my only side note as a school nurse, and as I can't say I'm not, that it's something that's an issue in Chelmsford, but I think, people really stress the issue of masks with COVID. And I wish they would as equally or as much remind people of the hand washing, because some of the things I see are that people they're afraid to touch anything like a doorknob, and you got to get in the door or whatever. And they kind of look at you, and I'm like, you know what? It's okay. Open the door, then just wash your hands right away. Then it's okay. It's the best way to take care of your concern if you have one. And just, as much as people are aware of wearing masks, I'd like them to be aware of washing their hands. Are you confused, Amy?
No, sorry,
Oh,
I
okay.
was wondering. I was able to pull up the summary of the parent input. So if you want me to read that, I think it might
If you
be a
want
good
to,
idea.
yeah, or just address, see what we can address out of there, just as far as whether that would seem like something for, well, just sure.
Sure. I'll
And what did
start
you say
with,
last?
yeah, like that. So we'll start with positives. That there were in particular two, that teachers have been accepting of modifications that parents have been suggesting, and that one school team in particular, McCarthy was mentioned as supporting a student well. So certainly those are good things. And let's see, for some kind of general concerns, I think one noted here was about the using electronics for long periods during the day. Certainly, I think that's a concern that I'm gonna let somebody in.
I got it.
You got it. That's a concern that I think all parents have, but certainly you could see where that relates specifically to, or can relate specifically rather to special education. Let's see, and how that time on the computer can impact attention, certainly. And then there's just some concerns about health related to, again, electronic use, headaches, that kind of thing. And then a concern about home, even though learning is happening at home, essentially, where the line is in terms of teacher control, I guess is the word that it looks like was used here. Requiring students to ask permission to use the bathroom, that kind of thing, which usually isn't, an issue at home. But treading kind of that school in home kind of thing, folks felt like that, or someone felt that was an issue. Behavior across different settings was a concern of someone. And then it looks like anxiety, and where kind of the line, is it the difference, I guess, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, between kind of a diagnosis, say, of generalized anxiety versus anxiety because of maybe the modality of learning now, or all of that's kind of going on in the world, right? So it sounds like that was a concern that was mentioned. And then just some confusion, it looks like, about information in the 504 and IEP eligibility process, as well as implementation during the pandemic. I think how that's rolled out, so it sounds like is a concern. And I think relative to that, that's something that we can kind of not push, but ask the Amy's to share with us how being kind of in pandemic mode, if you will, affects the implementation of an IEP or the development of a new IEP. Realizing that kind of education now, whether you're hybrid or you're remote, looks very different than being in school full time. So how the district is what they say, you know, to parents when you have a meeting to sit down to review, you know, the IEP and make modifications for the next year when you really, you know, kind of don't know what that looks like or that. So that was the kind of the summary of their concerns, and then there were just some questions relative to expectations for homework, and I think that I haven't heard anything about a district policy on that, so maybe we could get some clarification on that. Let's see, there was a question about asynchronous work and the ability of families to have their children complete work outside of kind of normal school hours, if you will. I think that's what that next question is getting at. Allowing time for play and movement breaks to be embedded kind of during the school hours, if you will. And that kind of loops around again with the time on electronics, I think, kind of thing, and that balance, right? And then again, what is the legal, looping back with anxiety, what is the legal definition for anxiety, and what qualifies for special education, and what is kind of the cutoff for normal anxiety versus a disability, right? Because everybody has a little bit of anxiety, but when, you know, is it considered that it's so impactful that it needs to be have further, you know, accommodation or things of that nature. So let's see. And then someone else asked about if SEPAC was mentioned during IEP and 504 meetings. So I know Amy Matson had mentioned in her email response that they were going to reach out to liaisons in the district and remind them that, in fact, that SEPAC is still running, albeit in a different way, right?
Yes, and they were supposed to be doing that already and giving out CPAC information at all those meetings. I don't know if that's been happening, but that was part of the plan in the past too.
Okay. I see that the impact on that if meetings and things are virtual, are, I guess, although the rights brochures and things are still going out via snail mail.
Well, no,
so
I got mine.
right?
I got mine online.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Did you get was CPAC information part of that?
No, because mine's kind of out of where I'm out of district. It was different, but no, I didn't. I just got the procedural thing about getting the regular rights.
Okay. I'm wondering if
yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering if that could be part of the issue, if things are being kind of sent out electronically. I know from my own experience with my own children that I'm not seeing a lot, you know, paper-based kinds of things just aren't coming home in the way that they used to, notices and such. So we could look into that and see if we could have an electronic version, so parents are getting that information when they get other information as well. And then the last question was about a the basic rights training, and that will be scheduled for this year.
And so, I don't know if you could see, but it's Laurie McCarron that just came into the meeting. Hello, Laurie. And so I don't know if she wants to, I'll update her quickly and then see if she wants to do any update on family support group, because she's part of that too. I think, right, Laurie, are you?
Or back to back.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I recently joined the parent support group again as an admin. I think Allie was taking a little break from adminning the group, so I'm helping Viaz out with that. I don't have any updates from the parent support group. Viaz, I'm not sure if you do.
No, he already gave us, but where you came in, I just didn't know if you had anything.
Oh, no, sorry. I know I'm late tonight. I apologize. I had an appointment.
Yeah. no worries. Well, I can kind of just catch you up to speed a little bit. Unfortunately, Amy Reese and Amy Matson had to cancel. So they're going to reschedule, hopefully, for maybe their thought is November 19th. We did give them the information from the last three little, whatever you want to call them, your input meetings that you had, and they had some recommendations and want to go over that when they're able to be at our next meeting.
Okay, that's great. Actually, November would be really great to reschedule a SEPAC meeting. November is SEPAC Awareness Month in Massachusetts. Just, I don't know if that was mentioned previously. I apologize for coming in late to the game. I'm not sure what I missed so far. Where are we on the agenda?
The last item. So do you have any updates from like back to back or anything else?
So I have updates as far as the state goes. So there is a state special education advisory council. I'm not sure if CPACs are aware of this. And this is something for CPACs to keep in mind. And I don't know where we're at with new board members coming in. I don't know if that was discussed earlier, so forgive me if I'm not up to date with what's going on with the Chelmsford CPAC. But if there are new board members that are going to be coming in to step up, it's important to know that there is a state special education board as well. And I would like to work with the chairs of the upcoming CPAC just so that they know what's going on a state level. I don't have my notes in front of me right now because I literally just got in the door like 6 minutes ago. I can go grab them. But I think it's going to take me just a minute to get them together based on we've been working on all this stuff with COVID recently. That's been like really since the past like 6 months. That's what the state has been working on. There was a lot of talk about MCAS with the state this past meeting that we just had last week. And then that might be something that we may want to talk about going forward because I know MCAS is a concern, but it doesn't usually come up until spring with parents. So I don't know. Did anybody want to give me a super quick update?
On our updating for more members?
Where we are at right now, like as far as like, are there people that are stepping up to become board members? Are we going to have elections? I think I missed all that.
Yeah, well, no, what we were talking about was the need for that. And unfortunately, we only had our two friends here, and I'm not, we discussed the need and how right now the role of CPAC has changed and will stay very limited and, can be a small job or it can be a bigger group depending on having more involvement and or a new board in place. So
okay, there's also work on IEPs being reconfigured. I know IEPs has been a subject for the fact that they're so integral. They're tough going through page after page. That's something that's being worked on currently right now where they're getting input not just from the state panel, but from parents all over Massachusetts to update how IEPs are being done. There's also the concern that there have been parents that were wanting to get children services way back in the spring and they were put on hold. So all of that, I'm probably sure maybe you already discussed. I don't know.
No, we didn't about that specifically. No, nope.
Okay, so going off of some of the stuff in the parent support group, I know that there are people that have had questions about an IEP or getting services back in the spring and they were put on hold. And then the district, I'm sure, is super overwhelmed. I think they have been. I think parents have been very patient in this game, in this whole process. And I think there's just a little bit of there are some things that have to be worked out time-wise, but there is still that time factor that they legally are obliged to. Has that come up at all? Has anybody brought up concerns with IEPs being kind of backdated or
no, all we went on was, there were 3 meetings that family support group had, and we got a list of the concerns that came from that, and that's what we were just addressing, and that was not in those.
Okay.
So, and that's where we really need the 2 Amy's, and be able to have people have questions, and we can, talk about the list that was generated from family support group, and then any other family parent input that comes in.
Okay.
I have not heard that.
So currently, right now, we are still in interim. And the interim is Amy, Domo, Kristen, and Viez.
Yep.
Okay. And then with hopes to maybe get a parent elected board maybe in 2021. Is it looking like that's going to happen, or is it looking like interim is going to go into 2021?
I would
I
think
have
it would,
no idea. I think
right, we're going to
ha-
call
yeah.
for nomination, for people to come forward, and if they do, great, then we can hold elections, but if nobody does, then I guess we would remain interim, I guess.
Who is the school committee liaison 2021?
Donna Newcomb.
Okay, and that's for sure?
Yep, I talked to her.
Okay. All right, so if this remains an interim for 2021, Donna Newcomb would kind of also help oversee the interim process. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And I feel like we're going to have to probably do some more PR, if you want to say, to to kind of explain, because the biggest thing that I've said, Laurie, is that I would love to do everything that you guys have done, but it's just really not possible. And I do think that the separation of family support group and SEPAC is a good thing, and yet we really could use some more volunteers or people to step up to keep SEPAC afloat, and maybe be able to then do more than the very basics.
Yeah, I think having the interim until people do step forward is important. That way there's something there in place. The parent support group and the SEPAC have always been separate. That's been the best part of the SEPAC actually thriving, has been because of the voices that the support group has brought forward. So I think things are going to change drastically with this new we can't have in-person meetings anymore. And I'm not sure what the update is now with Zoom meetings for SEPAC. I don't know if that's changing. So I don't know if we're doing Chelmsford Telemedia anymore, if we're just kind of going to work with the district on how to have these even interim-based meetings. Probably should still be posted with the town, just to make sure that it's,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we've done so far. And yet
Okay.
what happened was that, unfortunately, when we got in touch with it's not whoever IT for
Yeah, I can explain a little better. So
yes, thank you.
usually we use the Zoom account from Chelmsford Telemedia, but I think they're overloaded with all these groups doing remote due to the COVID protocol, and no one wants to meet in person. So they're just trying to, probably for a group like us, they don't want to share like the Zoom meetings with us. I don't know if there's a limitation on their side, or it's just the account that they have. So, and they directed me to a different way of doing things, which I did not want to take up in the last week, just
Right.
before
We
the
didn't have
meeting.
time to put it in place.
Yeah, I was not sure if things would work out, and I have not used that form of video communication anytime. So we'll try to figure that out. This meeting definitely is being recorded, and it'll go to Chelmsford Telemedia for processing, and they will put it up on their YouTube channel.
Yep.
Okay. So one thing, just to keep parents updated, there might be some new parents coming in during 2021 just because of some of the issues that some of our parents and kids and guardians and students are having with COVID and anxiety and remote learning and hybrid learning. It's definitely been a lot. And one thing to remind everybody about is that SEPAC is not just for children that are receiving special education services, it's for all interested parties. And I think that's important because we make sure that people have access to resources and support. And if we don't have the answers, we can help find the answers. So going forward, that might be something to continually bring up to parents. And if we do these meetings that are recorded, some parents may not want their face on, Zoom or whatever, and they I think can still access the parent support group. Is that correct? To bring up any topics that may have
Right.
that may have to come forward to the district.
Yep.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Yeah, they can either message
Yes.
us
And,
privately.
and I have said, right, and I have already said,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, I think I'm having technical difficulties. I have seen already a lot of people joining the SEPAC Facebook page, so I can see the interest is clearly there. And I was a little bit surprised that we didn't have more people in tonight. And I know there were more that was supposed to, but there are so many Zoom meetings, it's kind of crazy, and I think it's very hard for people to get to all of them, but that's all.
And
I know.
also bringing up protecting people's confidentiality and the security for the fact that they do not have to name their child. They don't even have to name themselves. If they want to bring up a topic or an issue that's going on in the district, that they can bring it forth to somebody and they still have those contacts available. So I think those are the key things that SEPAC or even an interim can keep going forward, is that there is a contact for people and that they know who this contact is. So interim board, it would be Kristen, Amy Viez, and then Donna Newcomb for school committee, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, yeah. So I think, we're just going to skate along this way. And I don't mean to say skate along, but continue this way. And then, like I said, try to look into other ways to communicate, looking for people who might be interested in being on the board, and then move forward with that.
Okay. Did I already miss the update about the community awards?
Yeah, we had to put it on hold for a while because there wasn't, Amy says, what did you say? There was nobody that put anything in there, right?
Right, the one we sent out in the late spring, or almost summer. At that point, there were no, the last time I looked over the summer, there were no responses to that. So, we talked about revisiting it in the winter to kind of see where we are. And, there's potential for doing it again in the spring, but, certainly there's some drawbacks, and it would have to be modified most likely if we're still in this kind of mode of hybrid learning and people not being allowed in, buildings and things like that. We were discussing how one of the benefits to it, certainly, and you did this, I believe, as well, Lori, that going in and giving like a little spiel about someone who was nominated and why they were nominated, was really, I think, beneficial to that person to hear that. And I think it would lose something if it was, typed in an email or something like that. So, but we're, open for kind of discussion about it. But I think,
well, is it reasonable then to just, instead of putting it off until the winter, because, it keeps getting put off, let's just completely take it off the table and revisit it in the spring, because we don't know what's going to happen with, COVID, the pandemic, flu season through the winter.
Laurie, for us,
Yep.
we feel like we're just basically saying the same thing, only just saying we'll visit it. We don't really have to take it off the table or keep it on a table because nobody put anything in there as a nomination yet, but we will definitely bring it up. It will not be forgotten, but we'll see how it goes.
Right. So I think that's what I was saying. So is it like instead of bringing it back up against in the winter, why don't we just completely table until spring completely, just not bring it up at, the next few
I wasn't
interim
planning to
meetings.
bring it up at any more interim meetings until we decided to bring it up again. Yep. Yep. Let me think. What else? Like I said, our agenda was small, but we went over everything, but we wanted to have plenty of time for the Amy's, and unfortunately they had to cancel last minute. So that's where we're left at this point. And just hoping to have another meeting soon and we can have both Amy's at that one. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think we went through the agenda and I mean, the best we could, certainly.
I know.
So I think, if there are any other questions or comments, we could entertain that, but otherwise I think we can adjourn.
I think so. What do you think? Anybody else have any last minute things to say or ask or anything?
So the SEPAC email is still the same?
Yep. And we have the website and the Facebook page. All right, so do I need a motion to adjourn the meeting? This is the shortest Chelmsford SEPAC meeting in the last several years, I will say, I think.
I can make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Awesome, thank you. And sorry we didn't get to see you for very long, Laurie. And thank you, Heather. Thank you, everybody. And we'll talk again soon.